Look, I'm going to hit you with something that might sting, but it's the truth you desperately need to hear. You're constantly beating yourself up, aren't you? Every little slip, every tiny misstep, every time things don't go exactly to plan, you become your own harshest critic. You think you need to be this flawless, perfectly sculpted human being to have any real success, any real worth. Or are you actually just comfortable staying in that delusion, pretending that if you just try harder for perfection, everything will magically align? If you're okay with that lie, hit pause. This isn't for you. But if you're sick of the self-flagellation, if you're exhausted by the relentless chase of an impossible ideal, if you're tired of living in the shadow of your own perceived failures, then listen up. This video is for the brutal truth seekers, for those trapped in the self-exigence cage, for anyone who can't stand to fail and wants to finally discover what the ancient Stoics learned about the raw, unapologetic freedom of being imperfect without falling into the trap of self-sabotage. We're about to expose the biggest lie you tell yourself about your mistakes. This isn't fluff. This isn't some feel-good pep talk. This is Stoic punch. Put on your headphones. Block out the noise. Get ready for a punch of brutal reality that will shatter the illusion of perfection and free you from the tyranny of the ideal self. We're not aiming for comfort here. We're aiming for clarity and resilience. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves for a moment. You're an expert at torturing yourself, aren't you? Think about it. How many times have you meticulously planned something? A new business venture, a fitness routine, a difficult conversation, a creative project, only to get paralyzed at the starting line. You have all the data, all the steps, but you just can't pull the trigger. Why? Because you're so terrified of making a mistake, of not executing it perfectly. The fear of failure, or more specifically, the fear of imperfect execution, becomes a heavier burden than the actual task itself. You start a new diet. Day 1, you're a Spartan. Day 2, maybe a tiny slip. A single cookie, a slightly larger portion, and boom, the whole thing spirals. I messed up, you tell yourself. I'm a failure. Might as well eat the whole box. You don't just acknowledge the slip, you use it as evidence of your inherent flaw. You don't see a momentary deviation, you see the complete annihilation of your perfect plan. This isn't just about food, it's about anything. You start a new learning endeavor, say coding. You spend weeks on tutorials. Then you hit your first real bug, a piece of code that just won't work. Instead of seeing it as a puzzle, as an opportunity to learn, you immediately switch to, I'm not smart enough for this, I'll never get it. I'm just not built for this. The tiniest hiccup becomes definitive proof of your incompetence. Or consider relationships. You might be in a perfectly healthy, evolving relationship, but one small argument, one misunderstanding, one time you or your partner says the wrong thing, and your mind catastrophizes. This isn't perfect. This isn't what I imagined. It's destined to fail. You expect a flawless connection, a fairy tale, and any deviation from that unrealistic script sends you spiraling into doubt and despair. This isn't just about big, monumental screw-ups. It's about the subtle, insidious ways you punish yourself for not meeting an impossible standard. You might spend hours on a presentation, and it's genuinely good, but all you can focus on is that one awkward pause, that single typo, that moment you stumbled over a word. You ignore the 99% that went right because the 1% that wasn't perfect screams louder. You are, in essence, your own worst critic, your own internal police force, constantly patrolling the borders of your supposed perfection. And let me tell you, that perfection you're chasing, it doesn't exist. It's a phantom. It's a cruel illusion designed to keep you paralyzed, perpetually dissatisfied, and endlessly self-sabotaging. Now, this is where the Stoics, these ancient masters of living without fuss, step in with a concept so blindingly simple yet so profoundly ignored by most of humanity, it's almost infuriating. Epictetus, the former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, laid it out straight, no chaser. It's not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. Sounds obvious, right? Like something you'd read on a motivational poster. But trust me, this isn't some saccharine platitude. This is the bedrock of Stoic resilience. This is where your self-torture begins, and more importantly, where it can end. Most people hear this and nod. Yeah, yeah, my attitude matters. But they don't get it. They don't grasp the brutal implication. Think about it. The mistake itself, the event, that slip in the diet, that bug in the code, that argument in the relationship, is neutral. It just is. It's a piece of data, it's a fact. But what happens milliseconds later? Your mind kicks in. It takes that neutral event and slaps a label on it. I'm a failure. I'm not smart enough. This relationship is doomed. That label, that interpretation is the disturbance, not the event. Imagine you're walking and you trip over a loose cobblestone. The event is tripping, you fall, maybe scrape your knee. That's an external occurrence. What happens next? Interpretation A, the self-torturer. Oh my God, I'm so clumsy. How could I be so stupid? Everyone saw me, I'm such an idiot. Result, shame, anger, self-loathing. Interpretation B, the Stoic. Okay, I tripped. My knee is scraped. Lesson learned. Watch for loose cobblestones. Next time, I'll be more careful. Result, minor physical pain, but no emotional distress beyond the immediate discomfort. Practical learning. See the difference? The physical event is the same. The internal suffering is radically different, purely based on the story you told yourself. And you, my friend, are the storyteller of your own mind. You are writing the script for your emotional response to every single event, especially your perceived mistakes. Let's really drill down into this because this isn't about avoiding negative feelings. It's about understanding their source. You are not disturbed by the error itself. You are disturbed by the narrative you construct around that error. The mistake is just a mistake, a miscalculation, a misstep, a deviation from a planned course. It's data, it's feedback. The catastrophe is the story you tell yourself about what that mistake means about you. Consider the difference between fact and story. Fact. I ate a slice of pizza that wasn't on my diet plan. Story, the self-torturer. I have no self-control. I'm weak. I'll never achieve my goals. I'm a total failure. Fact. My new business proposal was rejected. Story, the self-torturer. I'm a terrible entrepreneur. My ideas are worthless. I'm destined to work for someone else forever. I'm not good enough. Fact. I yelled at my partner during an argument. Story, the self-torturer. I'm a horrible person. I'm abusive. I'm going to ruin this relationship. I don't deserve love. Do you see the massive chasm between the neutral fact and the emotionally charged, often self-annihilating story? That narrative is where your self-punishment lives. It's where your anxiety takes root. It's where your motivation dies. The Stoics didn't say, don't make mistakes. They didn't say, don't feel anything. They said, understand the source of your suffering. And the source is almost always internal, not external. So how do we apply this brutal truth? By understanding that your power doesn't lie in preventing all mistakes, an impossible task, but in controlling your reaction to them. This is the essence of the Stoic dichotomy of control. You don't control external events like making a mistake, but you absolutely control your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions to those events. Let's break down some common scenarios. Scenario 1. The weight loss journey. External event mistake. You had a bad eating day. You succumbed to cravings. Uncontrolled reaction. Self-sabotage. I'm such a weak person. I have no discipline. I'm going to be fat forever. This leads to giving up entirely, perpetuating the cycle. Controlled reaction. Stoic punch. Okay, I made a choice. That's a data point. What can I learn from it? Was I hungry? Stressed? What strategy can I implement tomorrow to prevent this? One day does not define the entire journey. Scenario 2, the career blunder external event. Mistake. You botched a presentation. You missed a deadline. Uncontrolled reaction. Self-destruction. I'm incompetent. My boss thinks I'm useless. I'm going to get fired. My career is over. This leads to anxiety, decreased performance, and potentially actually getting fired. Controlled reaction. Stoic punch. I made a mistake. It happened. What were the contributing factors? What specific steps can I take to fix this? How can I communicate transparently? What can I learn to improve my next performance? Scenario 3, relationship conflict external event, mistake. You said something hurtful during an argument. Your partner reacted negatively. Uncontrolled reaction, drama and blame. I always ruin everything. I'm unlovable. This relationship is doomed. It's their fault for overreacting. This leads to escalating conflict, resentment, and a damaged relationship. Controlled reaction, stoic punch. I said something I regret. My intention wasn't to hurt, but I did. What was my role in this? What can I do to take responsibility? How can I apologize genuinely? How can I communicate better next time? Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor who ruled Rome and still found time to write about how to be a decent human being, famously noted in his diary, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this and you will find strength." He wasn't saying, don't feel. He was saying, stop whining. The problem isn't the world, it's how you react to it. Your mistakes are part of the world. Your reaction to them is your domain. That's where your strength lies. Here's your Stoic Punch challenge. This isn't just theory, it's a practice. Exercise 1, the fact-story separation. The next time you perceive yourself making a mistake, large or small, stop yourself. Don't let the automatic self-judgment kick in. Grab a pen and paper or open a note on your phone. Write down the fact of what happened. Be brutally objective. Stick to observable realities. Example, I got a C on my exam. I snapped at my child. My car broke down. Write down the story you're telling yourself about it. This is where the emotional narrative comes in. Example, I'm stupid and will never succeed. I'm a terrible parent, and I'm scarring my child for life. I'm so unlucky, nothing ever goes right for me. Now look at the two lists. See the gap? See how much more painful the story is than the fact? Your goal is to acknowledge the fact, learn from it, and then reject the destructive story. You have the power to do this. This isn't denial, it's discernment. It's consciously choosing not to add unnecessary suffering to an already existing event. Exercise 2, the "does this depend on me?" test. This is Epictetus's core teaching in action. When something goes wrong, and it will go wrong, ask yourself immediately, does this depend on me? If yes, get to work. What specific action can you take? What can you control to improve the situation? Focus your energy there. If no, move on. Accept it. It's outside your sphere of control. Raging against it, dwelling on it, self-flagellating over it, that's wasted energy, pure self-sabotage. You don't control the traffic jam, but you control your patience in it. You don't control what an asshole says about you, but you control how or if you respond. You don't control the storm, but you control whether you get soaked. Complaining on Twitter. This applies to your mistakes too. You don't control having made the mistake, but you control whether you learn from it or let it destroy you. When you try to separate the fact from the story, when you try to apply the "does this depend on me?" test to your own perceived failures, you're going to feel resistance. Your ego, that fragile construct that often defines itself by its perfection, will scream. It will tell you, but what if I'm nothing without being perfect? Who am I if I'm not constantly striving for flawlessness? If I accept my mistakes, won't I just become lazy and complacent? This fear is the signal. It's your identity, as you've constructed it around an impossible ideal, feeling threatened. The Stoics knew this. They understood that embracing reality, especially the reality of our own imperfections and the inevitability of errors, is terrifying to the ego. But here's the brutal truth. The fear of making mistakes paralyzes you. The fear of being judged stops you from trying. It keeps you in a tiny, uncomfortable box. And what if the mistake is simply information? What if failure is just a trampoline in disguise, hidden by your own self-judgment? Your ego screams shame. But the Stoics would tell you, the shame isn't in the error, but in refusing to learn from it. The true failure isn't falling. It's refusing to get back up, paralyzed by the fear of falling again. It's staying down in a puddle of self-pity because you believe you should have been perfect in the first place. To truly master your reaction to mistakes, we need to bring in a couple more Stoic heavyweights. Concept 1. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This isn't about being pessimistic, it's about being strategic. Before you even start something, mentally simulate what could go wrong. Not just the external obstacles, but your own potential mistakes and reactions. Starting a new fitness routine? Premeditate. I might miss a workout, I might eat something off plan, I might feel discouraged. Starting a difficult conversation? Premeditate. I might say the wrong thing. They might react angrily. I might feel frustrated. By anticipating these potential errors, they lose their power to destabilize you when they actually occur. You've already mentally walked through them. It's like taking an umbrella and it not raining. Better than not taking one and getting soaked. This practice allows you to identify your own potential pitfalls, your tendencies towards specific mistakes, and to create strategies for when, not if, they appear. If you know you always quit the gym in the third week, prepare for that specific moment. You're building a mental fortress against self-sabotage not by avoiding mistakes, but by expecting and preparing for them. Concept 2. The internal observer, Socrates but refined by Stoicism. Seneca, the philosopher who seemed to have been trained in a real-life WhatsApp group, suggested developing an internal observer, a part of you that watches your thoughts and actions without immediate judgment. When you feel the impulse to self-criticize, to descend into that destructive narrative after a mistake, don't fight it immediately. First, observe it with curiosity. Interesting, you think? I'm starting to tell myself I'm worthless because I missed that deadline. Why? What am I feeling right now? This small distance between impulse and action creates space for conscious choices instead of automatic, self-destructive reactions. It's like writing an angry email and then not sending it. That's more stoic than it seems. You didn't stop feeling the anger, but you didn't let it control your actions. Similarly, you don't stop having critical thoughts, but you don't let them define your worth or paralyze you. So, let me hammer this home. You do not need to be perfect. In fact, the pursuit of perfection is often the very thing that prevents you from starting or from continuing. It's a mental prison. True strength, true progress, true growth is found not in the absence of mistakes, but in your capacity to engage with them. Resilience isn't the absence of falls. It's the unwavering commitment to get back up, dust yourself off, and learn from every single stumble. It's the ability to say, okay, that happened. What's next? What's the lesson here? How can I move forward wiser than before? This is about building a foundation of strength that doesn't crumble when the inevitable happens. Because mistakes will happen. Life is a chaotic, unpredictable beast, and your journey will be littered with errors. The question is, will you let those errors define you as a failure, or will you use them as stepping stones to something greater? This isn't about letting yourself off the hook for effort. This isn't about becoming complacent. It's about directing your effort strategically. Instead of pouring energy into self-punishment for what was, you redirect that energy into intelligent learning and action for what can be. That's the Stoic way. That's And finally, let's talk about the ultimate truth, the one that puts all your worries about perfection into brutal perspective. You will die. I will die. Everyone will die. No matter how many detox juices you drink, how many meditation apps you use, or how many times you say gratitude during the day, in the end, we'll all turn to dust, worm food, or ashes thrown somewhere symbolic with sad music in the background. For most people, this is a huge taboo. Just thinking about death brings that existential panic, that chill down your spine, and the automatic impulse to change the subject. But for the Stoics, this wasn't morbid. This was a daily reminder of how to live right. They called it memento mori. Remember that you will die. Seems morbid? It's because you're still seeing death as a villain. The Stoics saw it as a teacher. Death, in the Stoic view, is the ultimate antidote against procrastination, arrogance, and bullshit. When you truly accept that your time here is limited, you stop wasting time on crap and obsessing over unattainable perfection, paralyzing yourself with the fear of every tiny mistake. That's premium grade crap. When you remember your time is limited, distractions and self-sabotage lose their power. Ask yourself, if I had only 1 year to live, would I continue sabotaging myself this way, paralyzed by the fear of being anything less than perfect? The Stoics don't tell you to live like you'll die tomorrow in a zombie apocalypse, but they force you to look in the mirror and ask, am I living with intention or just surviving on autopilot? You're postponing life waiting for the right moment. Guess what? There is no right moment. There's now, and it might be the last. Do you want to reach the end of your finite time, consumed by the shame of your imperfections? Or do you want to have the profound satisfaction of knowing you lived fully, learned from every stumble, and built an unbreakable spirit precisely because you dared to be imperfect and kept going? The truth is, you'll continue sabotaging yourself if you keep chasing a phantom perfection and punishing yourself for every human error. The Stoics weren't superhumans with magical powers. They were normal people who understood how the mind works and developed practical techniques to deal with its flaws. The difference between them and most people? They stopped expecting life to be easy, stopped victimizing themselves, and took responsibility for the only territory that really belonged to them: their own minds. So, what mistake will you reinterpret today? What self-destructive story will you dismantle? What perfectionist impulse will you observe and let pass? This isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about mastering your reaction to them. Because as Epictetus said, it's not things that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. And your self-sabotage, fueled by the fear of imperfection, isn't caused by external errors, but by how you interpret and respond to them. And that, unlike almost everything else in life, is 100% under your control. Now go and give that perfectionist lie a Stoic punch.